fall appeal, you'll be entered into a drawing for a chance to win a pilgrimage to Fatima and Lourdes, taking place next year, September 1st through the 10th. Imagine walking the sacred paths where Our Lady appeared, praying where the miracles of grace and healing occurred, and where heaven touched earth. It is an opportunity you don't want to miss. If you received our mailing, check out our flyer that includes information on the pilgrimage and our fall appeal. You can support the appeal by returning the envelope from one of our mailings, or call 1-877-711-8500, or visit thestationofthecross.com, or use the donation page from your iCatholic Radio mobile app. You'll be eligible for our thank you gifts that will help you and your family to grow in your faith. Thank you, and may God bless you and your family.
Hi, this is David Fortin from Through the Fire. Please join Deacon Don Prendergast and me as we discuss the tools men need to build a domestic church and the spiritual weapons to defend it. It's an hour of traditional masculine spiritual direction that the woman in your life will appreciate too. Right here, every Sunday evening from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern on listener-supported The Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network, thestationofthecross.com, and worldwide on the iCatholic Radio app.
Hi, my name is Nathan Wakefield, Executive Director of the St. Thomas More House of Prayer in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. I want to invite you to join us at our beautiful retreat center, October 17th through the 19th, for our annual fall retreat. This year's retreat master will once again be Father Anthony Mary Prendergast from the community of St. John. The theme is We Shall See Him Face to Face. For those who have never attended a retreat at the House of Prayer, get ready for a weekend packed full of praying the Liturgy of the Hours, attending Holy Mass, Eucharistic adoration, confession, powerful spiritual conferences, and more. The cost for the weekend is $280 per person for a single room or $220 for a shared room. This includes overnight accommodations, meals, and retreat talks. So go on over to our website and register today at liturgyofthehours.org/fall retreat. That's liturgyofthehours.org/fall retreat.
The Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network presents Saints and Seasons. On September 4th, we celebrate the feast of Saint Rosalia, Virgin. Rosalia was born in Palermo, Sicily, in the early 12th century. Her father was a nobleman who traced his ancestry back to the Holy Roman Emperor, Blessed Charlemagne. As Rosalia grew into a beautiful young woman, her hand in marriage was eagerly sought. Rosalia, however, wished only to consecrate her virginity to God, and at a young age she forever left behind the comforts of her aristocratic life. She first entered a Basilian monastery, but her love of solitude eventually led her to a cave on Mount Pellegrino, some miles outside Palermo. In this cave, Rosalia dedicated herself so perfectly to prayer and mortification that she was called to her heavenly spouse at the age of only 30. Her body remained buried under stone and crystal until the year of our Lord 1624. Palermo was afflicted with a terrible plague, and it was revealed to one of the faithful that Saint Rosalia would intercede for the city if her relics were translated from the cave. When the relics were carried in procession around the city, the plague lifted, and from then on Rosalia has been honored as patroness of Palermo, as well as against plagues and disease. She is celebrated in Sicily with an additional feast in honor of her relics on July 15th. Also honored on this day are the Holy Prophet Moses, the lawgiver, Saint Marcellus of Chalons, Saint Ida, a lady of the court of Blessed Charlemagne, and many other martyrs, confessors, and holy virgins. For more about the saints and seasons of the Catholic Church, visit thestationofthecross.com/saints and seasons.
I spend most of my waking hours, and a lot of my dreaming ones, thinking about our culture and how to make it better. The other day I was reminiscing about the great talk show hosts of the past and how they influenced American culture. People like Steve Allen, Jack Parr, Johnny Carson, Dick.
Go into the world and tell every man that you meet, there is a man on the cross.
A Catholic Take. What you need to know right now. A bold synthesis of inspiration and information. Keeping you up to date on the news and issues from a courageous Catholic perspective.
A Catholic Take with Joe McClain starts now.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. Praise be to God. It is good to be on with you. In breaking news that I'm seeing right now, as a matter of fact, for the very first time, according to Catholic Arena on X, a man has been arrested after plotting a massacre at St. Michael's Abbey, a Catholic monastery in Orange County in California just last week. Apparently, Joshua Michael Richardson drove from Alabama with brass knuckles, knives, high-capacity magazines, body armor, weapons, and tactical gear. It's all the information I have, but I'm just seeing it, so I thought I'd share it with you. Pray for the safety of everyone in such insane stories like this one. I've been to St. Michael's. It's a beautiful, beautiful monastery. You should go if you get the chance. But today on the program, we're going to be talking about a lot of stories. Brent Haynes is back on the team at 14 past the hour. We're going to touch back on the Minneapolis shooting. Apparently, the mother was the one most traumatized about her son's transition issues. And apparently, maybe it was the father that was influencing him. I'm not sure. Brent's going to weigh in on that. Plus, the arresting of this comedian in London for putting stuff on X back in April. The police met him at the airport and arrested him for simply posting stuff on X. He's going to weigh into that. And then a few other stories like Lisa Cook, for instance, who Trump fired. Apparently, she committed mortgage fraud not once, not twice, but 3 times. How do you do that 3 times exactly, unless it's intentional? Brent is going to be here to weigh in on that. But although the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals says the Trump administration can't use the Enemies Alien Act to deport illegal immigrants, Mike McCormick is on the team at 30 past the hour to document how, when he was at the White House, he stood first front-hand row seats to watch Obama and Biden negotiate a deal with Honduras to bring in wave after wave after wave of illegal immigrants that helped to fund ActBlue and, drug trafficking, child trafficking, and all the rest. All of that today. The deep state with deep church ties. That's what we're going to be discussing today on the program. We'll put links to everything in the show notes for you at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. We're going to get into it, but I'd be grateful if you'd share us with a friend. Let's pray. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored thy help, or sought thine intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful. O Mother of the Word incarnate, despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and now your saint of the day.
Saint Rosalia, pray for us. Rosalia was born in Palermo, Sicily, in the early 12th century. Her father was a nobleman who traced his ancestry back to the Holy Roman Emperor, Blessed Charlemagne. As Rosalia grew into a beautiful young woman, her hand in marriage was eagerly sought. Rosalia, however, wished only to consecrate her virginity to God, and at a young age she forever left behind the comforts of her aristocratic life. She first entered a Basilian monastery, but her love of solitude eventually led her to a cave on Mount Pellegrino, some miles outside Palermo. In this cave, Rosalia dedicated herself so perfectly to prayer and mortification that she was called to her heavenly spouse at the age of only 30. Her body remained buried under stone and crystal until the year of our Lord 1624. Palermo was afflicted with a terrible plague, and it was revealed to one of the faithful that Saint Rosalia would intercede for the city if her relics were translated from the cave. When her relics were carried in procession around the city, the plague lifted, and from then on, Rosalia has been honored as patroness of Palermo, as well as against plagues and diseases in general. She is celebrated in Sicily with an additional feast in honor of her relics on July 15th. For more about this day and others in the Church's calendar, visit thestationofthecross.com/saints-and-seasons. Saint Rosalia, pray for us.
And now your headline news. Breitbart reports Fifth Circuit blocks Trump's use of Alien Enemies Act. A split 3-judge panel has rejected President Donald Trump's appeal that he can activate special deportation rules when the nation is being damaged by mass migration organized by foreign governments. Quote, countries encouraging its residents and citizens to enter this country illegally is not the modern-day equivalent of sending an army organized force to occupy, to disrupt, or to otherwise harm the United States, said 2 of the 3 judges in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit. The final decision is expected to be made by the U.S. Supreme Court. More on that with Mike McCormick at 30 past. Forbes reports Alphabet shares soar as Google scores a victory in court. Google will not have to sell its Chrome browser to remedy its search market monopoly. A federal judge ruled this week, but the tech giant will have to share some of its data with competitors, among other legal concessions. Google makes most of its revenue from its ad business, and shares of its parent company Alphabet surged nearly 8% in after-hours trading following the favorable ruling. And Catholic Vote reports Florida abolishing all vaccine mandates. Florida will abolish all vaccine mandates, including for school children, Surgeon General Dr. Joseph Ladapo announced yesterday. Not just COVID mandates, but, quote, every last one is wrong and drips with disdain and slavery, close quote, the good doctor said. Praise be to God for that. And those are your headline news. The gospel today comes to us from Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. And it came to pass that when the multitudes pressed upon him to hear the word of God, he stood by the lake of Gennesareth and saw 2 ships standing by the lake, but the fishermen were gone out of them and were washing their nets. And going into one of the ships that was Simon's, he desired him to draw back a little from the land, and sitting he taught the multitude out of the ship. And now, when he had ceased to speak, he said to Simon, launch out into the deep, and let down your nets for a draught. And Simon answering said to him, Master, we have labored all the night, and have taken nothing. But at thy word I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they enclosed a very great multitude of fishes, and their net broke. And they beckoned to their partners that were in the other ship, that they should come to help them. And they came and filled both ships, so that they were almost sinking. Which when Simon Peter saw, he fell down at Jesus' knees, saying, Depart from me, for I am a sinful man, O Lord. For he was wholly astonished, and all that were with him, at the draught of fishes which were taken. And so were also James and John, the sons of Zebedee, who were Simon's partners. And Jesus saith to Simon, Fear not, from henceforth thou shalt catch men. And having brought their ships to land, leaving all things, they followed him. The Gospel of the Lord. Laus tibi Christi. Father Haydock would say, why is it mentioned that there were 2 ships, that one of them was Simon Peter's, that Christ went into that one and sat down in it, and sitting he taught out of that ship? No doubt answering many of the ancient commentators to show that the church was figured by the bark of Peter, and that in it is the chair of Christ, a permanent authority prefigured by Christ sitting down, the true word of God. Put back from whence you have just now returned. Where you failed without Christ, with Christ you will prove successful. Now is the proper time when you act in my presence and according to my orders. Before it was not, when you followed your own, and not my will. You followed your will before, now you must follow my will, he says. St. Austin interprets the text, launch out into the deep, as spoken of distant nations to whom the gospel was afterward delivered. The great commentary of Cornelius a Lapide had a lot to say. He says, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, for Peter had said, At thy word I will let down the net. Behold, here the fruit and reward of obedience. Jesus did this, number 1, in order that by providing them with food, he might prepare them for their vocation and ministry. I have chosen you to be my disciples. Make not excuse that ye must work for your livelihood as fishermen. Behold this miraculous draught of fishes, and believe that I am able to provide you with all things necessary for life more easily and more abundantly than ye are able to provide them for yourselves. And number 2, to teach from this miracle that they were soon to become successful fishers of men. Fear not, he goes on to say. Be not lost in astonishment, for henceforth you are to be fishers of men in a higher sense of the word. From henceforth thou shalt catch men, first to hunt or to catch the living thing. Hence the Arabic translates it, from henceforth thou shalt be a fisherman. For thou shalt fish for and take men, not to harm them, but to use that net to catch them safely. Secondly, St. Ambrose would say, thou shalt be a life giver to men. Thou shalt be a fisher of men to recall them to life. Fishermen indeed catch fish to provide themselves with food, but thou, O Peter, are to become a fisher of men, not to destroy them, but to give them life by raising them from the death of sin unto life of righteousness. Give them the truth. That is the most charitable thing possible. We'll be back in 2.
iCatholic Mobile is a proud sponsor of the Station of the Cross. What if your phone bill did more than just connect calls? What if it connected souls? With iCatholic Mobile, every text, every call, and every gig of data supports the Station of the Cross, keeping Catholic programming on the air. Nationwide 5G, unlimited talk and text, reliable data, and free roaming in Canada and Mexico, all on a network that puts faith first. More info at iCatholicMobile.com.
Download the app to take our programming with you wherever you go. Hear what listeners are saying about the regularly updated iCatholic Radio app.
The programs on iCatholic Radio are uplifting, educational, and have served to deepen my faith as a Catholic. Thank you for this amazing station.
Download the free iCatholic Radio app in your Android or Apple store today. Please consider giving us a 5-star review or telling a friend about it.
Please join us in a prayer to our guardian angel. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O holy guardian angel, take care of our soul and body. Enlighten our mind that we may know the Lord better and love him with all our heart. Help us in our prayers so that we may not give in to distractions. Assist us with your advice so that we may see the good and carry it out with generosity. Defend us from the insidious snares of the enemy and sustain us in temptations that we may always be victorious. Remedy our coldness in our worship of the Lord. Cease not to protect us until you have brought us into paradise, where we will praise our good God together for all eternity. Amen.
Be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take a Bold, synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. Praise be to God. Coming up at 30 past the hour, Mike McCormick is back. You might remember Mike. He's the author of a couple of books, The Case to Impeach and Imprison Joe Biden, and his latest in Almost Insurmountable Evil. Well, he's going to be here to talk about how at his time during his tenure at the White House, you get to have a front row seat to Obama and Biden negotiating a deal with the Hondurans to flood our country with illegal immigrants, which financed ActBlue, which helped to perpetuate child trafficking, drug trafficking. He's going to be joining us at 30 past. But there are lots of stories in the news that are of great concern to us. And our good friend of the show, Brent Haynes, attorney, Catholic and freedom fighter, is on the team today. Good morning to you, Brent. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, everyone.
I want to start Minneapolis first. Go back to there. There was an article, LifeSite News. I'm going to link to everything in the show notes today, by the way. Everything's linked up at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. Check out the show notes when you get a chance. Let's go back to Minneapolis. Last week, there was a lot of commentary and pressure upon the mother because she wasn't cooperating with the authorities. But now we're finding out that, the part of the reason why she left for Florida, the family broke up. It was a dysfunctional family. Her son's transitioning. Her heart's broken, apparently. And it might be more of the dad's influence than anything. How do you see it?
Well, we touched on this last week when we discussed how, the vast, the medical establishment and just the influential interest in our culture insist on not allowing what used to be the standard treatment for the trans issue. And so, you're not allowed to raise any questions about it. And, this mother now reportedly had opposed it from the beginning. And apparently the shooter had made comments about this in a diary about how she had opposed, or his mother had opposed him trying to become a her. And then in the end, she went ahead and signed the petition for him to change his name. And of course, we know that petition says, she wants to be referred to, with a female name. How different might the situation have been if the medical establishment had not become politicized, and if instead this person had been able to be treated for gender dysphoria, which is what this used to be called. But remember, in places like, other places in Western civilization, in Australia, we've talked about how they have a law in Australia where it is illegal to pray silently for conversion for people who have these problems. Now, leaving aside the difficulty of prosecuting somebody, in terms of evidentiary matters, that shows how far that goes. There are groups out there that are trying to deal with this issue. There are former transitioners who have detransitioned who are coming out and speaking about the dangers of this. They don't get much press time in the legacy media, unfortunately, but they are out there trying to spread their experiences. There are medical professionals. There is a group called Do No Harm, which is fighting woke policies in the medical industry. The school to the medical transition pipeline has been exposed. The Trump administration has cut off funding for these kinds of programs. Christopher Rufo's done excellent journalistic work revealing the school to medical, transition industry pipeline in some areas. And this is a tragic example of what happens when you politicize a medical issue instead of dealing with it properly.
Well, then there was the case about this English comedian flying back to London from the United States, and he had armed police officers to meet him in Heathrow at the gate there. Have a listen to the audio from this encounter.
He's alleged that on the 19th of April 2025.
This is the police speaking.
You published a post on X that was deemed to be intended to stir up hatred.
It's really hard to hear. The audio is not great, but the police is saying, hey, listen, you posted something back in April, and this happened just the other day, but back in April, you posted something on X, and they met him at the gate, and they arrested him. And he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe that they were actually arresting him for posting something on X, and they said it was intended to instill hatred and violence. Brent Haynes, I got to tell you, I guess we're more blessed than we deserve to live in a country where we are allowed to have an opinion. Because in England, you're not allowed to have an opinion.
Look, this we have talked about repeatedly. And why do we care about what happens in England or what happens in Canada or what happens in Australia? Because these are the fellow Anglophilic, English-speaking Western civilization countries that are democracies, generally parliamentary democracies, as opposed to our distinctive constitutional democracy, three branches of government. But these are English-speaking parliamentary democracies. Ideas know no borders. We just discussed how the trans issue has allowed politics to infect medical decision-making and medical judgments. We talked before about how in England, people get arrested for praying silently outside abortion facilities. More than once this has happened. J.K. Rowling, who is not a conservative, the writer of the Harry Potter series, who is not a conservative, has come out and condemned this action, but she has been very outspoken on the issue of free speech in England. This was a comedian who made a post on X or Twitter, on somewhere on social media. He made a bad joke or made some outrageous comment, and he was not in England when he made the comment. Reportedly, he was in the United States. Now, in England, if somebody breaks into your house, they just tell you to report it to the insurance company. But if you say something, and there have been riots in England. This doesn't get covered either. There have been riots in England over, over the treatment of young girls and women, over, horrible, sexual assault cases. There were some young girls who were murdered not long ago that caused riots. But don't you dare say anything on the trans issue. So this comedian makes these outrageous comments or jokes or bad jokes. He's not even in England. And when he arrives at the airport, not one, not two, but 5 police officers show up to arrest him, and they are armed. Now, to Americans, that might not sound unusual, but you've got to remember, in England, police officers are generally not armed. Now, their airport police are armed for obvious reasons because of terrorism. But they arrested him. His blood pressure actually shot up so high that they had to take him to the hospital. He's been released on bond. And apparently one of the restrictions is he can't make any post on social media, or at least on Twitter.
Wow.
Because there is no true free speech in England anymore. J.D. Vance, the vice president, went to Europe and England and talked about this. You and I have talked before about the European Union and their disinformation campaign. That is now the law in the European Union. They now have a so-called disinformation agency in the European Union. In England, the chief of police for the Metropolitan London Police, he made a comment, some people might remember a few months ago, about how people, and he was apparently referring to Elon Musk, because who's the most outspoken celebrity in the world? Elon Musk. He made a comment about people making comments on social media being charged criminally, even if they were outside of England. And that's what's happened to this comedian. There is no true free speech in England anymore, unless you're a big celebrity like J.K. Rowling, whom they don't dare arrest. If you're a regular person, you do not have free speech. Another woman in England made a very incendiary comment after the murders of those three young women in England. She made a comment she shouldn't have made. She made it on social media. It was a retaliation type comment, a comment, just generally suggesting a retaliation. In the United States, it probably would not be actionable, as lawyers say, as a criminal case, because it wasn't specific. It was just a general expression for retaliation and hatred after these 3 young girls had been murdered. She got 31 months in prison, Joe.
Wow. 31 months.
But don't worry. If your daughter in England is sexually assaulted, the police have other things to do.
Right.
There is no true free speech in England. Ideas do not have borders. And then Nigel Farage, the leader of the upcoming Reform Party in the United Kingdom, testified before Congress. And what did the Democrats do? One after another, they said, Jamie Raskin actually said, there's free speech in Britain. The problem is no free speech in the United States. How can you say there's free speech in Britain after all of these cases? One after the other, arresting people for praying silently. I remember the woman we talked about who was arrested for holding up a sign outside an abortion facility, just saying, look, I'm here to talk if you want to talk. I mean, that's not free speech. And Nigel Farage testified, and one Democrat congressman and congresswoman after another decried how President Trump is ruining free speech in America. Joe, where are all the free speech arrests in the United States? Show me the woman in America who's been sentenced by the Trump administration without a court hearing or with a court hearing. Show me the woman in the United States who's been sentenced to 33 months in prison for her speech. Show me where that's happened. Ideas don't have borders. These are congressmen and congresswomen who are saying over and over again, they're pronouncing the big lie. Trump is attacking free speech in the United States. Democracy is under attack. Where are all the people who've been thrown in prison for opposing Trump? Where are all the people who've been arrested for their free speech on the internet or on the social media?
Well, I can tell you, Brent, I can tell you, because I was just talking about this yesterday with our guest, Dr. Jose Trasancos, remembering the good old days of the pandemic when I wasn't allowed to have conversations about the vax mandates and the lockdowns and all the crazy. But you might remember back in those days that it was YouTube and social media censoring the voice. And what was that guy who made the memes about Hillary Clinton that also got in big trouble? It seems like we were under those conditions of the lack of free speech, the lockdowns and the censoring, but only under the Obama, Biden, sort of the gang that ruled us for a while. They're the ones who locked us down, not so much recent days.
Remember, we talked about two distinct issues here. One, the Biden administration, we found out later when Facebook found or blew the whistle on them after the fact. Oh yes, under President Biden, they were pressuring us to restrict free speech. And also, remember, the Biden administration proposed their own European Union style disinformation control agency. So
wow.
The Democrats are the ones that genuinely want to follow up on these European policies. That's why it's important for us to talk about it. And by the way, that comedian that was arrested in London, in Britain, he's not an Englishman. He's an Irishman. That's a separate country. We tend to lump them together a lot of times culturally or socially. And, there's the broader British Isles and the king or the queen, and they have their, their domains and their commonwealths and everything. But he is an Irish citizen. He's not a British citizen. So that could have happened to any other citizen. Now, very unlikely they would try that with an American citizen. You know that with a strong president like Trump in office, they're not going to do that. What happens if you get somebody like Biden in office again? Somebody who favors these kinds of restrictions on free speech and who is just weak, who during his presidency, one country like Russia invades a smaller country like Ukraine, or who pulls troops out of a country like Afghanistan so quickly 13 American servicemen and women get killed. And what happens if somebody like that's president and then an American flies into England? What happens if Joe McClain goes over there to lead a pilgrimage group?
I plan to go next year.
Policy?
Please, 10 Downing Street, don't pay any attention to my X feed. Please, just nothing to see here. Move along. Brent Haynes, we're running out of time. Thanks for hanging out with us today and weighing in. You apparently have no opinion on any of these matters. You're not at all passionate about that. But we're grateful for your time.
Not at all, Joe.
All right, coming up in just a couple of minutes from now, we're going to have Mike McCormick back on the team. He was White House stenographer, front row seat to the Obama regime. He wrote a book about it, actually, An Almost Insurmountable Evil. We're going to talk about the perpetuating of child trafficking on purpose. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Jim Havens, host of The Simple Truth, heard weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network.
We call Israel the Holy Land because that's the birthplace of Catholicism. A lot of Protestants have an aha moment. Wow, I went from one Catholic church to another. I didn't walk in to a Methodist church to see where Christ was born. No, Catholic.
That's The Simple Truth, weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern on the Station of the Cross.
So it is definitely very appropriate to get angry, to feel frustrated, especially when we see people, especially pastors in certain offices, who lead others to sin. But we always have to remember that we need to appropriately express this anger as disciples of Christ. Caritas in veritate. It's a fundamental principle. Charity in truth. And the basic point I want to make is this: bad shepherds do not justify being bad sheep. You see, in the face of bad shepherds, many Catholics don't necessarily lose their faith, nor their hope, but in some form or shape, they diminish in supernatural charity.
That's Sermons for Everyday Living, weekdays from 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern on the Station of the Cross.
Catholic radio has just been a lifesaver for me. I still listen to it every day. I start my day with it. I listen to it all day long as much as I can. I am very grateful for it.
It's just an amazing thing to have, as I am new to Catholicism. Obviously, it's not only helping me, but it's helping so many other people on their walk.
Thank you. God bless you for iCatholic Radio. It has changed my life.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take a Bold, synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. So good to be on with you. And here are your headline news. Catholic News Agency reports 7 Catholic churches attacked in Spain just last month. The Observatory for Religious Freedom and Conscience in Spain mourned what they called a Black August, with 7 cases of vandalism and desecration against Catholic churches reported in recent weeks. The OLRC stated that these events confirmed the rise of Christianophobia and the vulnerability of religious freedom in our country, and warned against such events becoming normalized. Just the News reports Disney reaches $10 million settlement with the FTC over unlawful collection of children's data. Disney has agreed to a $10 million settlement with the Federal Trade Commission after the FTC filed a lawsuit against Disney for mining the personal data of children who viewed kid-directed YouTube videos without notifying parents of obtaining their consent. The government alleged that Disney had intentionally mislabeled YouTube content to collect personal data from children under 13, then used that data for targeted advertising to children. And Catholic Vote reports the Vances visit Annunciation shooting survivors. Vice President J.D. Vance and the Second Lady visited Annunciation Catholic Church in Minneapolis yesterday to pay their respects to the victims of the deadly shooting that took place there. Quote, "I have never had a day that will stay with me like this day did," Vance said after his visit with survivors. He also made a prayer request that he said is straight from the parents and straight from the families to my fellow Americans. And those are your headline news. There is an article at Complicit Clergy and the Gateway Pundit. I'm going to link to both of these for you. But the headline says how Obama-Biden deal with Honduras to flood the U.S. with illegal immigrants finance ActBlue. Now, you might remember that there was that flood of undocumented minors, thousands and thousands of which were released into the custody of gang members and the notorious criminals, and now are missing. We don't know where they are. I've interviewed some of the whistleblowers just on those stories alone. Joining us now to talk about this is Mike McCormick, author of An Almost Insurmountable Evil, How Obama's Deep State defiled the church, the Catholic Church, and executed the Wuhan pandemic. He's also the author of The Case to Impeach and Imprison Joe Biden. He's also a White House stenographer, and he joins us this morning. Good morning to you, Mike. Thank you for your time.
Hey, Joe. Good to see you again.
Praise be to God. It's good to have you back. So, all right, so you had a front row seat in the Obama administration to some of these events, and your name is mentioned in this article, and I thought, I got to talk to him about this. So what is the story here? Why would Obama and Biden want to work a deal specifically to flood our country with these illegal immigrants?
Well, so I was White House stenographer from 2002 to 2018. So 1 year with Trump, that was a good year. That was, I think that was the catalyst that started the illegal immigration flood that hit our borders in 2021 after Biden got in. But the planning for it began 10 years earlier.
Wow.
So in 2012, I went to Honduras with Joe Biden. Joe Biden took a trip. He went to Mexico and he went to Honduras in March of 2012. This was, at the time, I thought it was, he's just going out there to get support for the 2012 election from the Hispanic community. It really wasn't that at all. In Mexico, he went to Our Lady of Guadalupe. He went to the shrine. He had meetings with the Mexican government, and then he went to Honduras. What came out of Honduras, and I put this in my book, The Case, Impeach, and Imprison Joe Biden, that book, was a operation. It was called Operation Andal. Basically, there was a corrupt Honduran president. His name was Pepe Sosa Loba. He was smuggling cocaine into the United States by the ton. The U.S. knew about it. On the trip, we had a strange series of occurrences. We flew into it. It's kind of a secret Air Force base there called Soto Cano, Air Base Soto Cano. And it's outside of the capital city, which I'm not going to try to pronounce. It begins with a T and ends with Kalabupa. But we were supposed to, we were flying in there from Mexico, and on every plane, there's a military aide. A guy came back to us. He was a Navy guy. And he goes, and he looked really nervous. And he goes, look, I made a mistake. We can't fly into the capital city. We're going to fly into this other airbase, Soto Cano. It's a 90-minute drive into the main center of the city for meetings with the president. Well, waiting for us there was the vice president of Honduras. So Biden gets off the plane, meets his vice president, and then she jumps in the limo with him and rides 90 minutes into town. That's a very private conversation, and that's a very suspicious timing of a meeting. If this was a last-minute switch, what the guy said happened was it rained, and the runways are wet, and I calculated the landing capability of our aircraft for dry runways, not wet runways. And I was like, that sounds really weird. Well, I don't think that was the truth. And I think what happened was this vice president went out there, who was helping the president of Honduras. He was a drug smuggler. In that situation, if she has a package to hand off to the vice president, it happens far from me. There was no media on the plane. It was only me. And the reason they wanted me is because he then did a bunch of, we went to Miami right after that trip to Honduras, and he did a bunch of interviews there. So I was a stenographer for that series of events, but I was just sort of sitting there watching as this happened. She could have handed something off to him. So I think that was something strange to me. I put that in my book. What happens out of this meeting is this Operation Anvil. They're smuggling cocaine in the U.S. The U.S. government is kind of turning a blind eye to the cocaine smuggling, and then they start helping them. The Honduran government builds up a cartel-afflicted, cartel-infiltrated national police force right then and there as part of this Operation Anvil. And they started killing, the cartel used that police force to kill their opponents that were smuggling drugs in. So they basically killed the opponents, took the cocaine, and put it into their warehouses. They had to get rid of this guy. So in 2013, they got a new guy in there. His name is Juan Orlando Hernandez. He was also a Sinaloa cartel guy. He's smuggling drugs into the United States by the ton. He's the guy that's in that picture. He gets put in 2013, and the guy who was in charge of the Defense Department's Southern Command down there was General John F. Kelly, who later becomes Trump's chief of staff in 2018. So that picture is Joe Biden having an intimate moment with Juan Orlando Hernandez, the president of Honduras, in the Roosevelt Room in the White House. That's July 25th, 2014. And sitting right next to them in the picture is Cardinal McCormick. In 2014, in the summer, so Orlando Hernandez has only been in there for a few months, all these unaccompanied minors start showing up at the U.S. border, 60,000 over the course of that summer. And the reason Orlando Hernandez comes into the White House is Joe Biden has to fix it. He's the guy who's got to solve the crisis. And so what they came up with is Alliance for Prosperity program. Joe Biden set it up, and basically they gave that guy who's smuggling cocaine in the United States by the ton $500 million of our taxpayer money from 2014 to 2016. And McCormick was the go-between with Obama, Biden. He was doing meetings in the White House. Immediately after they took that picture, like weeks after, he goes into the White House 3 times and meets with the White House Chief of Staff, Dennis McDonough. And they set up this Alliance for Prosperity and put the Catholic NGOs in there. Catholic Relief Services, U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops. Who was in charge of U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops at the time? Cardinal Timothy Dolan. Where was Bishop McElroy at the time? He was an assistant bishop, an auxiliary bishop in San Francisco. Shortly after that, he gets moved to San Diego, which is a border diocese with the Mexicans. So in 2015, So all these kids are coming in the summer of 2015. In March of summer of 2014, in March of 2015, with all this money going to these criminal cartel-affiliated presidents, they put McElroy in as the bishop on the San Diego diocese. That became the place what was most heavily trafficked for cartel activity, drug smuggling, human trafficking during the Biden administration when he comes in.
It's insane. It's just insane to think about. This Gateway Pundit article, which I'm also going to link to, which is the longer form of the complicit clergy article, says under the Obama and Biden administrations, and at the direction of then Department of Homeland Security Director Alejandro Mayorkas, the United States became a white glove delivery service for children to be transferred into the hands of child sex traffickers. Going on to say, cartels came to realize that far more money could be made with children than with drugs. Arizona State Senator Mark Finchman, the executive director of the Election Fairness Institute, explained to the author, the article says. And this is going, sort of the point you were making a minute ago. It's like the whole system of deep state and deep church collaborating together. So children, in particular, not just drugs, but children can come over that border. And then where do those children end up, Mike?
Well, they go into refugee services that are staffed by the Catholic Church that got billions of dollars from the Biden administration's Health and Human Services agency. So, we basically paid for this process. And the thing is, it started in 2012. It started 10 years earlier. And what happened in 2013? Pope Francis gets installed. And what does Pope Francis want to do? He wants to open up the borders. And what happens in 2016? Donald Trump becomes the most popular candidate in America, way far more popular than Hillary Clinton and anybody else. And what do they have to do? They have to stop him. So Pope Francis goes to Mexico in February of 2016. I have that in that book. There it is. Almost Insurmountable Evil. He goes to Mexico. He does a speech at the border talking about we have to open borders for migrants. This is, we need compassion in our world. And on the flight home to the Vatican, one of the Vatican reporters asked him, so what do you think about this guy, Donald Trump? He's talking about building a wall. Pope Francis says, I don't know this businessman, but if he's talking about building walls, not bridges, he's not a good Christian. That's the Pope saying that about a presidential candidate.
Yeah, I remember.
Trump jumps down his throat. The Vatican backed off, not Pope Francis, the Vatican. And so then they had sort of a taunt. But Trump gets elected. This is what happened. The cartels had this thing set up for years with the Democratic Party, with Obama, with Biden. They wanted to do this in 2016 as the aftermath of this Alliance for Prosperity. And Trump got in front of it. We voted Trump in 2017. He puts up the wall. They start going around him. John F. Kelly was his chief of staff. They started working around him. And so eventually what happened was in 2018, shortly after the midterm election, Trump arrests Juan Orlando Hernandez's brother, Tony Hernandez, for smuggling drugs into America. And during the trial that is in October of 2019, it comes out the Sinaloa cartel was involved with Orlando Hernandez. He's still the president of Honduras. They couldn't arrest him because he was a sitting president. But they have all this information come out, and no one reports on it. Why? Because there's impeachment process against Trump.
Deep state, deep church ties. That's what we're discussing with Mike McCormick, author of the book An Insurmountable Evil, How Obama's Deep State Defiled the Catholic Church and Executed the Wuhan Pandemic. And he's got another book, too. We're going to link to both of these books for you in the show notes today, but we're going to be discussing more of this coming up in just 2 minutes. In fact, I want to get into ActBlue in particular. Who is ActBlue? What are they up to? Antifa, Black Lives Matter. How do their tentacles stretch into all of this and much, much more? As we discuss all of this with Mike McCormick. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. So much to pray for, so much to fast for, so much to do penance for. But keep your eyes wide open. More on that 2 minutes from now. Share us with a friend. We'll be right back.
The Catholic Current, bringing Christ to the world and the world to Christ.
I have no clue what my future looks like. I know who my future is, and it lies in the hands of Christ. I'm not worried about where I'm going to live, what I'm going to do. My life, I want it to be His, and there's such a freedom in that. I never, ever thought that I would find freedom in a laid-down, surrendered life to Christ.
The Catholic Current, 5 p.m. Eastern, from the Station of the Cross and on the iCatholic Radio mobile app.
Our Lord commanded the apostles to preach the gospel without fear, to proclaim the truth from the housetops. Now From the Housetops Radio is a weekly program that features the same Catholic doctrine, devotion, and inspiration published for over 45 years in From the Housetops magazine. Produced by the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary at St. Benedict Center in Still River, Massachusetts, From the Housetops offers inspirational lives of the saints, guidance from the great masters of the spiritual life, reflections on the liturgical year, church history, apologetics, commentary on current events, and much more. Now you can tune in weekly to From the Housetops Radio. Join us every Saturday at 6 p.m. right here on the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. That's From the Housetops, Saturdays at 6 p.m.
Catholic radio has just been a lifesaver for me. I still listen to it every day. I start my day with it. I listen to it all day long as much as I can. I am very grateful for it.
It's just an amazing thing to have, as I am new to Catholicism. Obviously, it's not only helping me, but it's helping so many other people on their walk.
Thank you. God bless you for iCatholic Radio. It has changed my life.
Donate today at thestationofthecross.com.
Praise be to Jesus Christ. Welcome back to A Catholic Take, a bold synthesis of information and inspiration. I'm your host, Joe McClain. Praise be to God. It is good to be on with you. I just want to thank our sponsor, iCatholicMobile.com, for sponsoring what we do here at the Station of the Cross Catholic Media Network. We're unlike other Catholic radio apostolates. We touch that third rail. Sometimes we dance on it, maybe even a wee bit too long, but nonetheless, we're doing things that nobody else does, and I can appreciate the support we get from iCatholicMobile.com, because we didn't get money from the aid organizations out of the federal government. We don't get big checks from the Vatican, your diocese. We don't get checks from the USCCB. We get checks from people like you and our sponsor, iCatholicMobile.com. Couldn't be more proud of them for being on the team. Check them out at iCatholicMobile.com. We're having a conversation with the author of An Insurmountable Evil. We're going to put a link to that, plus his other book, The Case to Impeach and Imprison Joe Biden. Great, catchy title. Mike McCormick is on the team. Welcome back, Mike. Thanks for your time today. I want to jump back in and ask you specifically about ActBlue. Who is ActBlue? Where do they get their funding? And why do they have their tentacles in all kinds of nefarious activities?
Well, ActBlue is a Democratic Party funding organization. I personally don't know that much about it. The person who wrote that article is Dr. Jerome Corsi, and he's the one who sort of put together the reporting on the sort of how this ActBlue connects into this Alliance for Prosperity. What I know is that there was a assistant sheriff in Millersville, Tennessee, named Sean Taylor, who arrested somebody after the Alliance for Prosperity sort of was up and running. They arrested a drug smuggler, and they started looking into this. What's going on with these mortgages? There's mortgage fraud going on, and that's what involved ActBlue. And then Mark Fincham, who you quoted, he has the Election Fairness Institute. He has been involved in election fairness and looking at these democratic organizations that fund, like you said, they fund Antifa, they fund the 1,000 Mules, the election fraud of 2020. There's a lot of that involved. So this was all done through, it looked like what happened was these $500 million goes to Honduras. Some of that money comes back and goes to ActBlue, and ActBlue sends it through a bank, through a mortgage system. They had mortgages on a house, on a couple of houses, like $100 million worth of mortgages for small, nondescript five bedroom houses. And what they realized, they were laundering the money. So it was either cartel money they were laundering, or it was Alliance for Prosperity money they were laundering. Comes back to ActBlue, and ActBlue puts it in, and then they get these loans against these mortgages. So $100 million in loans, they take that loan money and disperse it to their networks.
I think Americans typically, these days anyway, they don't trust their government. We don't trust our government all that much. Even if let's say a majority of Americans still like, support, and applaud the performance of Donald Trump right now. Even if that's true, I don't even know where that number is right now, but just for the sake of the conversation, let's say it's true. I think they're all scratching their heads going, well, wasn't Kash Patel supposed to, tell us where all the bones are buried? That hasn't happened. Pam Bondi, what happened there? Like, I just think Americans are feeling like we can't trust anything that comes out of our federal government at all. How do you see it as a former federal employee? Do you think it's possible to clean the swamp? Is that even a thing, or has that ship sailed and it just is what it is?
It's going to take a long time, but what we're seeing right now is Trump has declared war on the cartels. I mean, I think one of the things that I talk about in that book was when Pope Francis came in, there were three focuses that the Catholic Church under him entailed that were directly connected to the Obama-Biden policies. They pushed forward the Iran nuclear deal. That whole thing has gone sideways into a war in the Middle East with Israel and Gaza, and Iran is teetering on the brink of becoming extinct with the mullahs. They pushed the Chinese, betrayed the Chinese Catholic Church, the underground Catholic Church, to the communists. And that's going sideways. And they align with the cartels through this Alliance for Prosperity, through all this activity. Now Trump has declared war on the cartels. That's what the National Guard is doing here in Washington. He's got a bunch of soldiers walking around on the streets of Washington armed. That's protection for the people who would be working for Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. So if there is a cartel activity, they're going to go against the tip top of our military. You can't declare war on their cartels and invade Mexico. But what you can do is you can bomb their boats as they're driving around in the open ocean. You can roll up their cartel activities here in Chicago and Washington and New York and shut off their marketplace.
So do you think it's possible then? Is it, that was my initial question, is it possible to clean up the swamp? Is it, or, is it such an infiltration? Is it such a corruption at multiple levels of government that, because when we started the conversation, you pointed out that even though Biden sort of executed the plan when he was president, it all was planned under Obama 10 years before. It sounds to me like it's so complicated, such a complicated knot, that there's really not a lot of expectation for truly cleaning up the deep state in our country.
Well, Archbishop Vigano he's got a really good handle on this. He's long talked about that the Obama-Biden administration was the intersection of the deep church with the deep state. So yes, there is a deep church and there's a deep state. So are we cleaning up the deep state? Yeah. You've got to do it by force. You've got to do it slowly. It's going to take time. They're doing it. There's a lot of, they got rid of the USAID. USAID was a big funder of the Alliance for Prosperity. USAID was a big funder of the Wuhan Institute of Virology that leaked the Wuhan virus in 2020. That's the second part of the book is that, Pope Francis in March of 2020 came out there and shut down the Catholic Church. All worship and all activity in the Catholic Church was locked down for 2 weeks in March. That's one of the most evil things any pope has ever done. And he did that to back up Joe Biden, to help him get elected so they could open up the border in 2021. That's the amount of evil. And that was backed up. That was just part of a process that involved health and, deep health, the deep state, and the deep church all together to shut our world down, the entire world. And so, it's going to take a long time to undo this. And so they're working on it. And I know Trump is working on it. The more we learn, the better.
How aware do you think Donald Trump is about all these details that we've been discussing? Does he know who the players are and their backgrounds? And does he know who the good guys are and the bad guys aren't?
Yeah. So, for instance, in 2017, he comes in. He didn't know that the guy who was Department of Homeland Security, John F. Kelly, was working with the cartels. He didn't know that his director of the CIA, Mike Pompeo, was part of the deep state aligned against him. He didn't know that Mike Pompeo brought Bill Barr in, a Catholic, to be on a commission to advise the CIA, and that's when they had to get rid of McCarrick. They got rid of McCarrick in June of 2017. They had to get rid of him as a witness. So this stuff all started because of Trump. He's the catalyst, and now he's back, and he's going full throttle.
Well, all right. Mike McCormick, appreciate you being on the team today. Really thank you for your time today. It means a lot to me. Check out his book, An Almost Insurmountable Evil, How Obama's Deep State Defiled the Catholic Church and Executed the Wuhan Pandemic. You can find it on Amazon if you just search for it. Search for Mike McCormick. But we're going to put a link to it today for you. Make it easy at thestationofthecross.com/ACT. And praise be to God, you can check out all the links. I'd be grateful if you'd share us with a friend. Mike, God bless you. Look forward to having you back soon. Pray for the deep state and the deep church to be, let's say, destroyed by Christ and his power and coming. We'll be back tomorrow.
So what did you think of today's show? Let's discuss that right now in the after show. Your take on the after take. Comment, interact live with me and the team. All you need to do is search for one of our live video feeds on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, LinkedIn, and elsewhere. Simply search for the Station of the Cross, Joe McClain, or A Catholic Take. I'm looking forward to seeing you and interacting with you directly. It all starts right now. It's the after show.
And we're back. Welcome to the after show, everyone. And hope everyone's ready for some bingo.
And if you can believe it, it's Thursday.
I don't believe it.
Is that
I don't believe in Thursday.
Doesn't count.
I don't believe in Thursday.
It doesn't count.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Does not count.
Does not count. Hey, good morning, everybody. Praise be to God. Glad you're on the team today. Judy Lopez over on the Facebooks. Good morning to you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don Paddock, Patty, Lori, Angelique, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Janice, you are welcome. I'm glad we were able to get Mike on yesterday. It worked out that way. Praise Jesus. I like having Mike on. It's kind of crazy to think, like, could you imagine working at the White House? And as a stenographer, you're like a fly on the wall, really. So you're like, you kind of go unnoticed maybe a little bit because you're just sort of background fodder. So they probably don't think about you all that often. You're just sort of hanging around. You're just sort of hanging around all the time. So just imagine all the stuff you get to witness firsthand. It seems crazy to me. But I was glad to get him on the team. Hey, good morning to you, Jen Nugent. Woohoo, Thursday. Like, nobody ever says that, right? Like, why don't we get excited
I do when we have Friday off.
You do when you get Friday off. You're terrible. You are terrible. When I was in the Marine Corps back in the day, I used to look forward to Thursdays. I hate to admit this publicly because it's part of my shame. But for whatever reason, when I was in the Marine Corps in Hawaii, Thursday nights were big nights. They were party nights. We'd go to the club on a Thursday night, stay out late. I'd get no sleep and have to work all day Friday with no sleep. I regret those days. Trust me, I do. But why? Like, whose idea was that? Who was like, you know what we need? We need to get everybody at the club on a Thursday night. Like, what? What? Why would we do this? This makes no practical sense. Nobody can sleep. But somehow, when you're 18, 19, 20 years old, You don't need sleep. Forget that sleep. Who needs sleep?
I remember those days.
Jen Nugent, good morning to you. Rebecca, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Here's hoping it stays cool for Sunday. Yeah, I hope it does. Nick the Mike, good morning to you. Jane Steves, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Mateus, did I see you on the line here, Mateus? Mateus, did you see that crazy story about St. Michael's Abbey and the guy they arrested? What is going on there? I don't have any more information other than what I read at the top of the hour last hour. They arrested some guy who is from Alabama who's planning to do a massacre at St. Michael's Abbey in Southern California. Beautiful abbey, by the way. Gorgeous.
I know someone who was there at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
At the time that the guy got arrested?
Yeah. He wasn't one of the Norbertines, but he was there visiting. He said he didn't know what was going on at the time, and then they told him about it. And I guess he'd been emailing crazy emails to the monastery for a long time, for a while, and then he kind of showed up with his weapons and was like, "Didn't you get my emails?" Which they said later. It is kind of funny after the fact. It wasn't very funny at the time, but then he literally showed up and said, "You didn't get my emails."
Okay, I'm confused. So the guy's being threatening in emails, shows up with guns, but doesn't start shooting. He just is still just sort of verbally confrontational.
I think so. I don't know. I don't know all the details of it. All I know is, that they were laughing about him literally coming and saying, "Didn't you get my emails?" So
wow,
yeah, a little crazy though.
Little,
yeah,
a little. That's a lot crazy. That's crazy. Yikes! It's crazy. It's crazy. Man, oh man. Makes me think maybe this is why God invented constitutional carry for a reason. Too bad places like New York don't allow that kind of thing. Anthony, good morning to you. Jake, Joe is always the smartest guy in the room. Have you been taking lessons from the traditional Thomist? Has he been teaching you how to?
I warned Anthony that you are alone in your studio over there, so it's not much of a compliment. So
how to comment correctly. Alberto, Dave's Jew 93, welcome back. I thought you said you hardly listened to us. What's bad? It's like 2 days in a row. This is going to be like a habit for you at this point. Mm-hmm. Says, I'm wondering if the State Department should start issuing travel warnings for Britain. They're one misfortune away from becoming a failed state. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? To Brent's point, what if some American traveling to the UK for tourism or pilgrimage or something like that were to be arrested because they were posting things on their social media? What would happen then?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. That's a good question. I'm not so sure that the English government wouldn't try that at some point. I don't know. Maybe they stay away from it because it's just too much of a political hot button. But I don't know. Could be. Alberto, again, good morning. Darren, good morning. Says in college there was an unofficial Greek group calling themselves the Toes. They always went out on Thursdays. Okay. Why do they go out on Thursday? Why? And what made it worse was it's still like I was in Kaneohe Bay, which is across the island, which is across the mountain range. So it was still like a 45-minute to an hour drive across a mountain to get down into Honolulu. So then you stay there till the wee hours in the morning, and you still got to get back to base. I mean, it was rough. I so don't miss those days. I really, really don't. Caleb the mechanic. So a shooter shows up to a monastery, says, "Didn't you get the memo?" Yeah, exactly. But my question is, though, if he was really intent on doing harm, why didn't he just start doing the harm? What was that about? I guess we probably shouldn't want to try to understand the minds of insane people all that much. I was watching a video the other day about a stock market trader. I think this was back in the 90s, or maybe early 2000s. I forget exactly when it was, but it's been a long couple of decades. But he was at work, and what they did was they had like a room where I could, if I wanted to, show up and pay to be able to use their computers and their platform and their systems to do day trading. So this was well before today where you can do it on your phone. This was decades ago. So you'd pay, you show up, and this was in New York or whatever. And they had this guy who had been losing a lot of money, and he got confrontational or whatever. So they kicked him out. Well, this guy shows back up on a whim, and he taps on the glass, and this guy had a meeting with a different client. And he's like, I'll be with you in a minute. And the guy's like, no, you're really going to want to see this. This is great. Because the guy that they kicked out owed them a lot of money and wasn't paying. And this guy, pulls him out of his meeting, and he's like, you're really going to like this. It's going to be great. And then he pulls out a .45 and shoots him in the chest. And it's like the guy was so stunned by it. Like he thought maybe the reason why he went with him at all was because he thought maybe this guy is going to like pay his bill. Maybe he's going to make good. Maybe it's like he turned a leaf or something. And then he just pulls out a gun and starts, shooting him and shooting other people. And it's like there's no way to understand that level of evil, right? It's so out there that you can't really wrap your head around it. My problem is I always want to pull on that thread and try to understand it. And it always just boggles my mind. So that's why I'm like, it makes no sense. He comes all the way across the country to shoot people up, but then he starts talking first. I just want to understand why that is, but I don't understand. Anyway, Stephen S., good morning to you. Phoebe, good morning to you. Sounds like he wanted to go to jail for some reason. Or maybe it's possible he just wanted attention and he was just being desperate to get some attention. I don't know. I haven't the slightest clue. It's like the Vegas shooter. I just remember like for weeks and weeks trying to understand why exactly, what happened. Like trying to make sense of all the various reports that were going on from the Vegas shooting, the massacre that happened years ago. Like I couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It just didn't make any sense to me. Especially the narrative we were being fed. Flying Tigers in the UK. So good morning to you, Rob, by the way. Says in the UK, they arrest the victim for triggering the poor, innocent Muslim illegal immigrants. Yeah, but in this case, the case of the comedian, it wasn't about the immigrants. It was about transgender ideology. So, I don't know. There's that. Gwagwensa, good morning to you. Nick the Mike, good morning. KZ2, James 16897, good morning to you all. Thanks for being on the team today. Patty says, wow, that was a load of info you gave us today, connecting the dots between deep state and the deep church. Yeah, well, thank God for Mike McCormick being on the team to be able to do it. It is crazy, isn't it? And where are those kids today? Thousands and thousands of kids still unaccounted for. They came across our southern border. Can you imagine growing up being one of those kids? I don't know. Talk about evil. I can't wrap my head around that one either. I don't know how anybody could convince themselves that you could traffic a child or any human being, really, but especially children, I guess. Craig, good morning to you. Guy wanted attention, obviously. Well, does that mean then that he wasn't intending to do harm? He was just looking for attention. He was being crazy to get the attention he deserved or thought he deserved or whatever. But no real intention to do harm. I guess that's the part I'm struggling with. Did he mean to do harm or no? I'm trying to understand. Diane says, Prince Charles, do you mean King Charles should support the people by speaking out against the arrest, protecting, or speaking against evil in government? Even if he has no power, he does have power. This is the misnomer about the English monarchy, though. He is the head of state. King Charles is the king. He is required to have a government with a prime minister and a parliament and all the House of Lords and all that other stuff. He has to have all of that, and he has to cooperate with them too. But he is, in fact, the head of state. He does have power. And he could, if he wanted to, replace the prime minister, for instance. He's got to want to, though. He's got to want to. I secretly had hopes for King Charles. Privately, really? On the down low, had hoped that when he got crowned, that maybe it would do something to him internally, and he would turn out to be a great king.
Well, I think you might have had a chance of that with a Catholic coronation, because it's kind of like the eighth sacrament, as it was sometimes referred to, coronation of a monarch. But Anglican sacraments are absolutely null and utterly void.
What? Come now, Jake.
Absolutely null and utterly void.
When you say null
Leo the
and
13th.
void, that seems like vague and ambiguous terminology to me.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what do you mean by null and void?
I mean that taking into consideration the possibility of their existing in a form that may or may not be acceptable to the the standards of churches within the world. It's possible that in a spirit of synodality, we could.
Well, you should write encyclicals. You're good at this. This is great. Like, wow, the gobbledygook that comes out of your mouth on the cuff is just amazingly impressive. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely null and utterly void.
Utterly void. That should be a very theologically sound phrase. Utterly void. Utterly void.
It is. I'm quoting verbatim from what Leo the 13th said about Anglican sacraments.
Yeah. Besides
absolutely
that,
null
though,
and utterly void.
Besides that, though, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? Okay. Besides that,
Flying Tiger says I'm not being nurturing.
You're not
hey, look,
being
no one's ever
nurturing.
accused me of being ecumenical. At least not since I was since the last time I was at a SPX church. But
King BP Coke says King Charles loves Mother. Yeah, King Charles he's left the reservation. Let's just say
he was never on it. He was always going to be like this.
God help him.
Even Elizabeth was never, she wasn't like based conservative or whatever. She was just hanging out, being the queen, being vaguely liberal but not saying much.
I think his mom was way more based than him.
I don't think there's much difference at all.
I don't know. I think maybe there is now.
I mean, in as much as she was of an older generation, maybe. But
the problem is they're all just team players, right? It's like our position, our role is to just be the figurative monarch, and that's all. And I think that's part of the problem is they see themselves that way, and they're just going to do their little bit and for king and country.
My favorite offensive thing I saw this week was someone commenting how they were glad that Diana wasn't around because imagine all of the horrible, cringe, woke nonsense she'd be pushing.
Ouch! Worse than King Charles? I doubt it.
Yeah, she'd be more. I think so. I think she'd be more outspoken with her social causes. I think so, actually. Yes.
She would probably be on social media too.
She would be on social media, and she'd be like, I can't believe this.
God rest her soul.
Yes, absolutely. But I thought that was a very funny thing.
One of the things she was into was wasn't it landmines?
That's
like landmines?
Yeah, that's the big one everyone remembers was removing landmines.
And that's a good thing. Praise be to God.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But again, I think
because landmines hurt Holy Mother Earth, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Poor Gaia.
Yikes. Poor Diana. God rest her soul. God rest her soul.
Yes. That is.
Man. Flying Tigers, good morning again. Gavin Adgen is a voice of clarity, he says. Susan Webb, good morning to you. Praise be to God. Has been unplugged for a bit, focusing on the Parish Fall Festival. Well, we're glad you're back. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you're doing really, really well. Praise be to God. And I'm glad you're planning the Parish Fall Festival, not me. Whenever Father asks for volunteers for a Fall Festival, I always look the other way. I don't want to make eye contact when he's asking for that. Thank you, but no thank you. I don't want to volunteer for that job. That sounds like a lot of work. Caleb the mechanic. By the way, speaking of a lot of work, yesterday I had an interesting phone call with Anthony Abate from Avoiding Babylon fame. We're talking about doing like a one-day meetup, men's Catholic conference-ish meetup type of thing. We're maybe it's probably going to be like late January, maybe early February, something like that. We're going to get together with Hitchborn on it. We're going to decide where, but it's going to be a guys' conference meetup hangout type of thing. They're probably going to drink and smoke. I, however, probably won't. Just so you know, just fair warning. I probably won't be drinking or smoking. Maybe I'll have a wee draft. Maybe. We'll see. Ronnie, good morning to you. Morning coffee and pumpkin spice?
Pumpkin bread, I think.
Is it pumpkin bread? Or
well, there's a pumpkin and a loaf of bread, so I'm going to assume it means pumpkin bread.
But I'm wondering if that's code for pumpkin spice in the coffee. Because
what would the bread be then?
I don't know. Maybe there's no spice option in the emoji. I don't know. I'm just guessing. I'm just interpreting. I haven't the slightest clue. But pumpkin spice is the season we're in, right? 'Tis the season for pumpkin spice. I miss good pumpkin spice coffee. Those are good days. Stephen Cornett. Landmines do more damage to people than the earth. I know it was a joke. I'm sorry. It wasn't really funny, to be honest. I thought it was funny. It's true, though. There are a lot of innocent victims in those landmines. I would agree. I got to tell you, at boot camp, when we were doing, sign me up, June says, I will let you know. I'll let you know when we have more information. I'll let you know. And I'm still thinking about doing a 3-day backpacking men's retreat during Lent as well. That's still on my agenda. Boot camp, landmine training. That was really nerve-wracking. I got to tell you, I didn't love that part. Claymore mines, fun to blow up. Blowing stuff up, I enjoyed. Throwing hand grenades made me nervous as all get out, but the boom was a good time. And but landmines, that made me really nervous because by the time you stepped on one, forget it. It's not like Hollywood. It's a bad day, and I really didn't like that part of it. So I can imagine that these kids that are running around in these areas and these zones, and God help them all. Napoleon, Joe, Jesse Romero strongly supports Catholic men's conferences. I'm glad to hear it. Praise God. He should. He's spoken at 700 billion of them, so I'm glad to hear he strongly supports Catholic men's conferences. Jesse's an amazing man. Praise be to Jesus. Today's high 97 really screams pumpkin spice weather. Today's high of 97. Where are you located, BP Coke? That sounds crazy. 97. It's not even 97 in Houston, Texas. Are you at the center of the earth or like what? It's already September. I mean, Buffalo's probably got 7 feet of snow by this point.
I had to walk through it uphill both ways to get to work.
Shoveling, snowshoeing, chains on the tires. You're getting everything all geared up. Have you pulled out the stove to install to get ready for your winter? I mean, yes, I remember gas mask training, flying taggers. I've been through it several times. The last time I did it was the worst of all. Man, gas mask training was awesome. Like all fluid exiting the body from every orifice simultaneously. That's gas mask training. It's horrible. Jennifer says King Charles is a descendant of Vladimir the Impaler. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's be honest with you. Vlad the Impaler is also not as bad a guy as he's been made out to be in post-Reformation history. Vlad the Impaler is actually, if I'm not mistaken, Jake, correct me if I'm wrong, he's a Catholic hero, isn't he?
Yeah, more or less.
Is it more or is it less?
It's probably more because he was defending Europe from the infidel, but...
Exactly. Here's to Vlad the Impaler.
I'm not going to claim that he was perfect or anything. I actually don't know a lot about the rest of his, life, his exploits, but anyone who was defending Europe from the Muslim invaders is...
From the infidels.
Should be considered at least somewhat heroic. I know in his home country, he's considered a national hero, and they're all like, what, you don't like him? Like,
what? What is not to like?
Yeah. You don't think you should impale our enemies?
Yeah. Ora pro nobis. Should add him to the list of uncanonized saints. Vlad the Impaler. I want to say, if I remember correctly, and I'm doing this off the top of my head, and I could definitely be wrong, but I want to say Warren Carroll gave him warm reviews. Vlad the Impaler.
I think I recall something along those lines.
Flying Tigers. Did I do jump training? No, I did rappelling. We did some rappelling, but I never did jump out of an aircraft. My uncle did. My uncle was airborne, and he did jump out of an airplane several times. He did tell me that it wasn't the first time that was the problem. It was jump number 2 that scared him to death, because you already know what to expect. So jump number 2 was the kicker. I feel like I could jump out of an airplane. I just don't think I'd like it because I'm actually afraid of heights. I just don't think I'd love it, but I could if I had to. There's a switch. I can switch it on or off if I have to. If I have to do a thing, I will do a thing. Even if I don't love that thing, I can switch it on or off, but I hate heights. Harmony Gordon says, keep the pumpkin spice. I'll take the maple. Ooh. Yes, yes, or yes. Don't tell Jake this. Okay, keep this just between us. But on Monday for Labor Day, I might have had some maple syrup. Okay, I might, maybe. I will neither confirm nor deny that I had maple syrup on some protein pancakes. But then I went and walked 8 miles, so I kind of like made up for it. Praise be to Jesus.
Chat, was Joe saying something just now?
No.
I couldn't hear him.
Nope. Zero. Zilch. Nada.
Maybe
Tales
the
from
tech issues on the jingle board.
Yeah, tech issues. That
Breaking
box
up a
already
little.
got checked. Don't even try that, okay? Stop trying to give him freebies all the time. Tales from the flop side says, we're at 47 degrees this morning here in Milwaukee County. 10 degrees cooler than the lake. Grabbed a sweater this morning. Wow. Talk about lake effect. 47 degrees. That's crazy cold. James says he's a national hero in Romania, Vlad the Impaler. Yes, he was fighting for the Catholic Kingdom of Hungary. There you go.
He is national hero in our country.
He is national hero. Yeah. Edward Clancy, don't. Why do you
Children of the night.
Yeah, I
What
must break
music
you.
they make.
That's
That's Russian, Joe.
You sound like Rocky V. Is what you sound like.
No, if you stretch out the syllables, it becomes Romanian.
Is that how that works?
Sure. I'm really just doing a really bad impression of
You're giving it away.
of Bela Lugosi. But not just of Bela Lugosi. I'm kind of doing a bad impression of Martin Landau's impression of Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood.
Martin Landau. That's how bad that impression is.
That's basically.
It's someone else doing the impression.
He won an Oscar for that impression of Bela Lugosi, but I'm doing a bad impression of him doing an impression of Bela Lugosi.
What was that? Tropic Thunder? I'm playing a white dude, playing a black dude, playing a black dude.
I'm a dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's great. Talk about Tom Cruise's best role. Transformative. Transformative.
He begged for that role, by the way.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, he really wanted to be in that.
Robert
role.
Downey Jr. does a great job in that. It's really funny he got nominated for an Oscar for that.
He's a good actor. I like Robert Downey Jr. He's one of the guys I can watch him almost in anything. Even though I don't like him, personally. I don't like his politics. Or his
of course
religion personally, but he's a good actor. Hey, Edward Clancy says, don't underestimate the power of patronage of St. Michael. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Praise be to God. There was something. Now I've bloody lost it. Oh, well. He's a hero of Christianity, says Caleb the Mechanic, but he was annoyed at the church because they didn't support him against the Saracens. I heard he was a Protestant, but Protestantism didn't exist as we know it today.
There was some issue that I recall reading about where he was kind of at odds with at least the church, hierarchy at times, because the church wasn't doing its job clearly, against the invaders. History is complicated like that. Sometimes the church is just not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Don't say.
I always bring up that
This
example.
is
I always bring up that
crazy
example
talk.
of the Protestants beating the Catholics at the Battle of the Boyne. Bonnie Prince Charlie loses, and Protestantism is entrenched forever in the UK. And the Pope has a Te Deum sung in the Vatican on hearing about the victory, because Bonnie Prince Charlie was allied to France and the Vatican were fighting at the time. They were in a dispute. And so he was like, oh, a friend of France lost? Okay, let's sing the Te Deum, even though basically the Protestants beat the Catholics. So things are complicated. Things are complicated.
Politics over truth is a common theme in history, that's for sure.
Yep.
Dave's June 93. Tom Cruise was fantastic as Colonel Stauffenberg in Valkyrie. Was he really? Was he really fantastic?
It would have been better to hear him doing a terrible German accent.
Yes,
I think
100%.
that would have been more fun.
I would have enjoyed it. He's capable. He's a great actor. They're capable. Okay. There's a movie coming out called Nuremberg right now, where Gladiator plays the Nazi. What's his name? The guy who was in charge of the Air Force for the
Goering?
Nazi Party, Goering. And it's about his trial, or his incarceration prior to trial, and the trial and all of that. And what's his name? The Gladiator is playing him. And he at least is doing a German accent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're going to sell it to me better now. And it's not bad. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be enough to sell it to me. And the good news is, Mr. Gladiator there has put on 8,700 pounds since Gladiator. So he actually looks the part. He's perfectly cast for this. I think it's going to be amazing.
I'll be interested to see his acting in the scene that depicts the Westerners torturing every single German they had at those trials to get confessions out of them.
Yeah.
Oh wait, did I say that out loud?
Was that out loud? Oops. Was that I think that's actually in the film.
They're actually going to show them, getting their testicles crushed and things like that.
I've only ever seen the trailer, and they seem to suggest there was a heavy amount of pressure being applied.
That'd be interesting if they actually show that.
I don't know if they're going to show it or not, but the trailer was interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks great as the part of Goering.
He does.
He looks really good.
Absolutely, and if he can pull it off, Tom Cruise can. Of course he can. Of course he can. These people are very capable. They're the best of the best, and absolutely he could pull it off.
And you're correct. Not Bonnie Prince Charlie, James II. My mistake.
Jimmy boy.
Yes.
Well, good morning to you, Robert DeBruce. Glad you're on the team.
I may have gotten the battle wrong. It's one or the other. One or the other I switched in my head, and I can't recall which right now because I've only had one cup of coffee.
Sean Connery did do everything in a Scottish accent, but it was a weak Scottish accent, though. His Scottish accent wasn't all that Scottish, to be honest with you.
It was a Sean Connery accent, really.
Yeah, exactly. It was much more unique to him than true. If you want to go thick, you got to go Glaswegian. Like that's the thickest of the thick.
Yeah, Glaswegian is
it's crazy talk. But Sean Connery was more of a Londoner with a Scottish slur, a lisp, if anything. But it was unique to him, and we loved it. Right? It's like he's one of those guys that you can watch him in anything.
Anyone with a distinctive voice, you get carried a little further.
Yeah, but do we love actors who are all like we've talked about this in the past? Kevin Costner. Kevin doesn't ever do anything but Kevin. Has he ever done any character where he had to be somebody other than Kevin Costner? I don't know, maybe, but not likely.
I mean, he tried to do Robin Hood, didn't he? With the accent.
But he didn't try to be Robin. He just was Kevin Costner wearing tights.
Yeah, exactly. And
So I like Kevin Costner. I could watch a Kevin Costner in most anything, like Magnificent Seven. I loved him. It's great. But he's always just Kevin Costner. But I love actors that are clearly capable and can always do and convince you that they are something else. I think that's better. I think it's greater, even if I do love the others as well. I don't know. It's my opinion. Phoebe Diggs says, does Joe singing Ora pro nobis count for Joe singing? It's a chant. It's not a singing. So I think
I don't sing at mass. I just chant.
We have to make distinctions here. I was just doing chant.
Let's look up the definition of chant.
No, let's not. Let's just move on. Let's just totally move on.
Well,
John B.
The AI says that a chant is the repeated or continuous singing of words or sounds. So,
see AI. You see what I'm dealing with here, folks? Yeah. He's using AI. We haven't learned our lesson. Apparently, I got in trouble for AI.
I literally
saw
it. I didn't even choose to look at it. It just came up at the start of the Google search, and I felt another percentage of my brain cells just fall away, just turn into dust, like the end of that Avengers movie where he snaps the fingers and they. That's what happens every time you use AI. Is a little Thanos in your head snaps its fingers and more of your brain cells dissolve into the dust. That's what happens.
John Wayne was always the same person. That's true. John Wayne was one of those guys, but we loved him. This over the weekend, I watched The Green Beret again. I hadn't watched that in forever. Green Beret. And even though he was probably, 88 years old, I loved him in The Green Beret. I don't know how old he was, but he was no spring chicken when he played the Colonel in The Green Beret. It was great. I loved John Wayne's the guy you can always watch. Doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. And I think that's true for a lot of actors. But, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is the GOAT for a reason. And it's not because he's always Daniel Day-Lewis. It's because he is capable of becoming somebody other than Daniel Day-Lewis. Hunker Bunker. Triumph of the Heart looks good, September 12th. I never even heard of that. What is that?
The Colby movie.
Oh, okay. Is that the name of it?
Triumph of the Heart, yeah.
Triumph of the Heart.
A little play on Triumph of the Will. It's Triumph of the Heart.
Huntker Buntker, I don't recognize that part, though.
Who said that? Where?
John B. It just threw me off because I didn't recognize that. Hunker
Maybe he was replying to
Triumph of
someone?
the Heart. I don't know. Maybe it's the bunker, the hunger bunker. Maybe, I don't know. But by the way, I interviewed the director of that film right when he came back from filming in Poland. We had him on, and that's I forget his name now, but we did interview him about that. So I'm excited to look at it too. Christine OFS on the team. You are so amazing, Christine. Thank you. Says Alec Baldwin is a true Democrat woke, turned on American people. I wrote him off. Well, what did Alec Baldwin come up for? I don't put him in the list of even the top 50 greatest actors. Did someone mention Alec Baldwin? And if so, in what context?
Dave mentioned a film.
I want to know.
A film called Nuremberg in 2000 with Alec Baldwin, and he says that one does talk about the torture aspect.
Does it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Carnival of Lies, says White Wolf.
Oh, they're talking about the starvation bunker, the hunger bunker.
The hunger bunker.
That's where they locked up Saint Maximilian.
Yep. It's on my bucket list someday to go visit there. I have been to one concentration camp, but I've never been to Auschwitz. I was at Dachau. That was they destroyed all the buildings. They tore down the buildings that left their foundation pads, and they left the incineration, the ovens.
I'd be interested to see Ravensbrück because that's where my great aunt was kept for a while.
Wow.
She was a forger in the Polish resistance.
Is that right?
She was at the women's camp in Ravensbrück.
Wow. Yeah. They are very somber places. You can feel sort of the atmosphere is heavy. It's very heavy. Anne says Bonnie Prince wasn't involved. Just what you read earlier. It wasn't involved with the Battle of the Boyne. King James II is the man you're thinking of. I think you read that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember which it is. I either mixed up the leader at the battle, or I mixed up that it was a different battle where the Pope had the Te Deum sung. It may have been when Bonnie Prince Charlie lost, or what? Maybe James II. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Battle of the Boyne and James II, though.
By the way,
but either way,
isn't Bonnie and his dad buried at the Vatican?
I believe yes. I believe both of them, and I think, or at least Bonnie Prince Charlie is, and I think his son, the last of the Stuart line. Was it his son who was the last, if I recall?
I'm sorry?
I think Bonnie Prince Charlie's son was the last of that Stuart line, and I think he's also buried at the Vatican. I think.
I would love to see it. I've never seen that. It's definitely would be a nice thing to see. Paul is saying, I only have 19 more squares to X, so it looks like I might win Blackout Bingo. No kidding. He's getting close. Blackout Bingo is what we're playing for the after show right now, using the same cards. We had a tie yesterday. At least that's what we're saying. A tie between Doug and Sci-Fi Mike. We're gonna go one more, and then we'll go from there. We'll see what we do. Whether or not we play another game starting next week or not, or we wait another week, or we pause. I don't know. We have to decide. I got to catch up on sending the prizes out still, so I still owe everybody the prizes. But I'll be doing that hopefully maybe tomorrow or Saturday. Craig says, new Mary Shelley Frankenstein coming. Interesting you bring that up, Craig, and we're especially since we're talking about Vlad the Impaler. Bram Stoker's Dracula, very Catholic. Very Catholic. It's one of those things that's kind of been hijacked. You know, the living dead.
The thing is, I think Bram Stoker himself was a little bit of a fallen away Catholic. He was still culturally Catholic, but yeah,
exactly.
And there's some weird stuff in that book, but for the most part, it's kind of it's still portraying good is the side of God and the church, evil is the side of not God and not the church.
And I think there's also I think it's even more powerful the fact that he's not like a solid, committed, practicing Catholic, because who do you call? You call the Catholic Church. You don't call Ghostbusters. You call the Catholic Church. When you're dealing with evil and the diabolic, the demonic, you call a Catholic priest. That's what you do. So it's like, I think that's a great takeaway. The reality of the evil can only be dealt with by the good, the true, and the beautiful of the one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. Even the secularists know it. I think that's why it's a good takeaway. Jane, did I see the post above about Trump and his Scottish roots? No, I didn't. Scrolling backwards, but I'm not seeing it. Well, can you repost it so I can see it, make it clearer for me?
My favourite Scottish roots are neeps and tatties.
No, Iron Brew. I am
no,
Brew.
It's not made from roots.
It doesn't matter.
I'm talking about tubers.
Iron Brew.
Neeps and tatties.
Everybody
I'm looking forward to having
brew.
Looking forward to having neeps and tatties with my haggis. On my honeymoon.
You're not looking forward to haggis.
I'm very much looking forward to haggis.
Have you ever had haggis?
No, but I love.
You're not
organs.
looking forward to it.
I love organs.
It's not.
I love organ meats.
Oh, I don't.
Look, if you pour scotch all over it, it doesn't matter.
You're gonna have to get through it. Just so
I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I like weird food.
Well, good for you then. God bless you. You know, it's not that weird though. In Scotland, there's plenty of great food. I mean, they got really great seafood options apparently. So lots of fresh seafood,
fried
especially
fish,
when you're in the
fish.
Hebrides. You got lobster and all kinds of things. So that's good. Praise God. Nick the Mike. It was the hand of our Blessed Mother intervening to prevent the shooter to commit a horrible act. Edward Clancy says the cell where St. Maximin Kolbe was executed is an eerily holy place. The Jewish tour guide was noticeably moved while discussing the conditions for those who died in there and how. St. Max Kolbe kept the 9 men at peace and made the prison guards frightened. Yeah, the guy whose job it was to change out the bucket. You know, he would have to come into the cell and empty out the bucket because what happened was, you know, in the first few days they would urinate in the bucket, but then as they began to starve and it waned on, they would drink their own urine to try to survive longer. That guy, you know, he would testify to how things were so different, vastly different under St. Maximin Kolbe than those that would normally have to starve to death in that little cell. Because he would hear their singing, he would hear the praying, he would hear the peace, the calm, and it would be a stark contrast to what would normally happen, the begging, the wailing, and the death throes and all that stuff. So St. Maximin Kolbe is definitely high on my list, and I keep a little statuette of the guy sitting next to me all the time for that.
Yes, Kevin, that is the best monologue on German ambitions in World War I and II.
What was that?
Norm Macdonald talking about how he's not scared of North Korea. You know what country he's scared of? Germany. Now, I don't know if y'all are history buffs, but about 100 years ago, Germany decided to go to war. And you know who they picked as their enemy? The world.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I know you'd think, you know, they're going up against the whole world. You know, you'd think they kind of get their butts kicked. But no, it was actually close.
Yeah.
And then a couple decades later, they decide they want to go to war again. And guess who they pick as their enemy again? The world. Yeah, it's a great little stand-up bit. He's talking about Hitler going "Schrankly, crankly." It's a very good bit.
Norm,
that's what he's scared of is Germany. Yes, indeed. Yeah. He had a lot of great tweets about about like pessimism and modern rationality and stuff. He was an interesting fellow. Definitely believed in God. So, I don't know what you're talking about.
What propaganda now?
I'm imitating a stand-up bit. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just a stand-up bit. But, Alberto, Shakespeare. I would like to go to Shakespeare. There's a house. I've interviewed Joseph Pierce a number of times, actually, but a few times we've discussed Shakespeare in particular and whether or not he was Catholic or not. And of course, it's Joseph Pierce's opinion that Shakespeare was, in fact, a recreant Catholic. And what's interesting about Shakespeare is because he entertained, I think he got away with a lot. He was allowed to get away with a lot because he was a widely successful entertainer. Like Macbeth. Macbeth is political commentary. The fact that he got away with Macbeth is mind-boggling. But he owned a house that was I forget the name of this house. My kids would know. They would slap me because I couldn't remember the name correctly. They would be so upset at me. They'd disown me, probably. But there's a name of this house, and I forget the name of the house, but he bought and paid for this house so that he could support Catholics and Catholic priests that live there. And I would like to go see that. That'd be amazing. I don't think I'm going to get to add that to the list, though. Right now, I'm looking at the schedule. The schedule is jam-packed and amazing. But I don't know. There's a couple of things on this that I'm trying to tweak out or whatever, but I'm still pondering it, weighing it before we launch or make any official announcements. But boy, our time in London area is going to be very limited. We're going to go see, of course, the Tower, so we can get Thomas More in St. Philip of Arundel. Of course, we're going to go to the Tyburn, and we're going to see the place where so many martyrs were martyred. Edmund Campion is a big hot button issue for me. I want to go and walk in his footsteps a little bit. That's why we're going to go to the Stoner House, have mass said there. But London's going to be somewhat limited, and I'm going to be okay with it, to be honest with you. Even though I would love to see more Shakespeare-like moments, that would be great. But I don't want to spend a lot of time in London. That's one of the things. Like when I was in Athens, I didn't love being in Athens. I liked seeing the few things that I did see there, but there's a lot of time that gets soaked up when you're in that big city just for sitting in traffic or whatever. It's just like, I'd rather be doing other things than just dealing with the hectic busyness of a big city. So we're going to see some things. We're going to drive right past King Charles, of course. We're going to wave at him as we go by.
It's funny. Just as you said King Charles, in this chat, a picture of King Charles popped up. He was visiting the oratory in London.
Yeah, I saw that too. Getting the nickel tour of the oratory. I did see that this morning. I go to the one in what one in White Marsh? White Wolf says, while I do not agree with all the conclusions of that book, it has a lot of very good research. Which book are we referring to? You should read World War I and the Rise of Hitler. Tate's Jew 93 says, the Guns of August goes into how all the European nations got sucked into the vortex due to the treaties and etc. Yeah, it was a crazy time, wasn't it? I also think there was a diabolical wind pushing these people towards the brink of destruction as well. I think that was definitely, if you just go back and look at the 19th century alone, how many millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people died through conflict? It's an insane amount of human beings lost in war, starvation, and all the rest, just in that 1 century alone. The amount of bloodshed in that 1 century is mind-boggling. You guys ever see that infographic that came out, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever, 5, 6 years? I don't even remember. It was just a while ago. And it tried to graphically show the lives lost just during the World War II alone. Russia. How do they still have human beings in Russia? There's so many people that died just out of Russia alone. It's just a staggering number. Staggering. Mac, Alec Baldwin is an entertainer who got away with murder. That's true. That's true. He got away with it. Poland, says John B., was a country that suffered between two criminals, Germany and Russia. The Lord awarded Poland with Pope St. John Paul II. Awarded? Do I? There's things, I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater on JP2. I'm not that kind of rad trad. But at the same time, awarded is strong language. I definitely think JP2 was hyper-focused on saving Poland. I'll give him that. Hey, look, guess who's in the chat box? The traditional Thomist is back. World War II would not have happened if Hitler would have listened to Joe McClain. So true, King. So true. He would have learned humility. Are you listening, Jake?
I like to think if our show had been around back then, Hitler would have been a loyal insider. Yes.
Ouch. I'm not sure what you meant by that. That feels awfully hard and cold. Oh, No, thank you for that dream world. No, thank you.
In a better world. He'd still be painting. He'd be painting our little image, our break images. We'd show the art. It'd be great. The world would have been a better place. We'd be at peace.
Would Hitler
if our
have
show
won
had been
ACT
around
bingo?
back then? Yes, probably.
Check the boxes, Douglas.
We would have gotten him into art school.
Oh, Joe McClain is Jewish, says DXD. How did you know that? What?
Yeah,
That's
everyone knows all the
crazy.
Scots are Jewish.
And also, by the way, I don't know who the Joe McClain is that you're referring to because that's not how I spell my name.
Yeah, what the heck is that spelling?
At the very least, if you can get my name spelled correctly, that'd be great. Because although I'm sure there are a lot of different variations on the name McClain, there's only one right one. Just ask the
He's Jewish.
Traditional Thomas. He's Jewish.
Yes, he's going back to Druidia on vacation.
Make the Druids. Hey, by the way, there is a debate going on in my house right now. I'm sure you guys probably also debate this probably frequently about the stone circles that we find in Scotland. The island of Mull, the ancestral seat of the Clan MacLean, it has one of these stone circles. I hope to drive by it and see it when I'm there. The question is, were those stone circles, were they sacrificial sites that the Druids offered human sacrifices at? Or were they something else? I'm under the I believe is my so this is where the hot contentious debate gets in. My son is like, "Oh, that's where they sacrificed." And I'm like, "I don't think they found any sacrificial evidence." This is why they don't actually. Most people say we don't know what these were, and they don't know what they are because they didn't find skeletons or bones or whatever, like they have, for instance, in Jerusalem, where they found the human remains of babies that Israelites were offering up to Baal. Did you know that? They have sacrificial sites. They found the ancient remains of babies being offered as human sacrifices to a demon. They haven't found that at these stone circles. So my impression is that these are calendars. I'd like to know, what do you guys, when you debate this, I'm sure it's also hotly contended, debated at your house. What do you say? Is it sacrifices? Is it a calendar? I think it's a calendar. I think it's a sundial. I think it's a sundial calendar with the stars aligned. That's all I think it is. Let me know what you think. Hitler also a vegetarian. Yeah, that's telling, isn't it? That's why I'm a meat eater. I don't want to be associated or compared to Hitler ever.
He also loved his pet dogs, so go out and shoot your dogs, people, or else you're Hitler.
sounds totally normal to me. Whatever Hitler did, do the opposite.
Exactly.
Seems like a great strategy. What do you mean?
This is how we learn from history. You can't repeat it.
This is how we learn. I don't know what do you mean by that? Darren says Kevin Costner, Perfect World. What was the name of that world? It was
Waterworld.
It was Waterworld.
That wasn't a perfect world, was it?
It's Waterworld, where he played the postman. Oh wait, that was a different dystopian post-apocalyptic film that he did, playing the same character just without flippers or whatever. The gills. Remember he had gills. Remember that in Waterworld he had gills. It was great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's an interesting looking movie. I kind of like the weird look of it. The world they created there. Like it was an interesting
It was
concept.
Mad Max on the water.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
it was a cool concept.
It was a ripoff.
It's
a
neat.
ripoff.
I thought that was neat. I was like, that's a good
Mad
idea.
Max on the water. Like not one original thing ever about that film. Like, what are you doing? Come on, Kevin.
James
we can do better than this.
James is giving us a great quandary here. Which should we have up on display? Hitler art or Rupnik art?
Why do I have to choose only between those? Like, there's tons of other bad art that I'd rather have than either of those.
If anything, the issue, and this is why he didn't get accepted to an art school, is his art is like there's some technical accuracy to it, but then the background of it is not. Like he doesn't get the angles right, the perspective right. So you look at it and it's like, oh, this looks like a fine average painting or whatever. And you're like, wait a second, the walls don't really match up or whatever. It's like he couldn't quite get those angles right in his depictions of the castles and the houses and things like that. So you can kind of tell once you're actually looking for the issues, you can see, oh, yeah, he didn't quite get all the technical basis correct.
Speaking of Hitler art, did you guys see the story this week about they're finding that Nazi stolen painting? The Nazis stole a famous painting.
Oh, they found another one?
And they found this painting in a listing for a house for sale in Argentina.
Oh, there we go.
The lady who owns that house that was selling this house, and they took pictures of the house, and this painting was on the wall of this house in one of those pictures. It was from her dad. I think it was her dad. I'm off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly the details, but it's along these lines. And apparently the painting is now since, because people picked up on it somehow, it made news that someone going through this real estate listing saw this painting. We're like, wait, hold on, that's famous. The Nazis stole that in World War II. And how did it end up in Argentina? Apparently the painting has since gone missing again. So interesting. Argentina. So did Hitler die in Argentina? Did I tell you about the Discovery Channel guy? What's his name? Joshua something with the man, he's very entertaining to watch. I'll give him that. They went to the house in Argentina that is rumored to have been where Hitler actually died. They did a ground penetrating radar thing in the front yard, and they discovered a Nazi coin in the front yard. So obviously that is definitive evidence that Hitler died in that house. Clearly.
Well, listen, I mean, the alternative, though, Joe, is that we just take the Soviets' word for it, for what happened. And, like, they would never lie. Come on.
Precisely.
The Soviets are loyal. The Soviet communists are loyal allies in World War II, would never lie to us.
They were on our side. What are you trying to insinuate?
America and Soviet Russia fighting together as always.
For the same principled reason, Jake, exactly. I would have to believe Father James Martin, who tells me that everything is, the way he took that meeting was, the message I received, he said, is basically that things are going to go on as normal. So that's why, because
we know that our enemies will never lie.
Never. They never do lie. It's true. Hitler did not escape. John B., come on now. Oh, it's less fun if he doesn't escape.
Exactly. It's much more interesting. Makes for way better movies.
Way better, more interesting content. I think it's beyond. I think, in all seriousness, it's beyond doubt that Nazis did make it to Argentina.
That is true.
Clearly,
we know they did escape.
That much we know for sure. That's demonstrable. But whether Hitler made it,
that he did make it. He made it to Argentina and died there at 62.
A lot of people believe that. Yeah. That's for sure. I guess we'll never really know. The boys of Brazil, says James. Hitler died in Argentina, 62. Well, like we said, we don't know. The truth always comes out eventually. Does it really come out eventually? I don't know.
I mean, if you're counting Judgment Day, then yes.
I watched the documentary film National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets.
Oh, you watched the sequel?
Yeah.
How was it?
Because they're so much fun. Especially when you can filter out whatever junk's there.
Yeah.
It's
and
good,
there's not too much content in those. They're PG.
Yeah, that's the nice thing. It already starts with not a lot, and then you can filter that out, and what's left is just a good time. And so that movie, you might remember, is about the president keeping a secret book that has all the actual, like, the truth of the JFK and the truth of Hitler and the truth of all of these things. That was a big part of that story. Like, so all we got to do is just go find this book hidden in the Library of Congress that has all these secrets, and then we'll all know. That was my takeaway. Andy Warhol, that could be another terrible option to choose from between Rupnik, Hitler, and Andy Warhol.
Andy Warhol is completely unobjectionable. His art, fine. It's just modern. It's just kind of weird corporate
Yoko
stuff.
Ono,
it's way better
another great terrible choice.
See, that's an actual issue there. Andy Warhol, I mean, compared to like Jackson Pollock and all that stuff, Andy Warhol was just kind of doing like, oh, what happens if I recolor soup cans and stuff? And he was a struggling Catholic who attended mass all the time, but also had a lot of problems. So pray for his soul.
Yeah, he struggled with it. Yeah.
Interesting fellow. Very interesting fellow.
Tradish Mom, good morning to you. Says, do you want to throw Hunter Biden's art in there too? Wow.
How about George Bush's paintings? How about George Bush's paintings?
W's?
Yeah, let's get some of those on there.
Or senior. Is it W or senior?
W.
Who does W?
W does paintings.
I don't know. Like, maybe we should have like a competition between W and Hunter Biden. Which art is the worst?
It's an art off.
It's an art off. That would be interesting. Josh Gates is the guy from the Discovery Channel who went to Argentina, and that's his name. I forgot it. Because I remember an episode where Josh Gates found a medallion, and I could tell it was a miraculous medal. What episode was it about? Like, what was it about? Where was he? Where was he looking for when he found that medallion? That'd be very interesting to know. He's very entertaining. I like watching his clips. I don't have cable, but I see clips on YouTube all the time, and I'll watch them because he.
Is Yoko Ono still alive?
I think so.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Mac, who didn't love The Monuments Men? I like that. It was good. I like The Monuments Men. It's fun. George Clooney. I like George Clooney. George Clooney is an actor who can convince me he's somebody other than who he is.
Really?
He doesn't always just do the George Clooney thing.
He does for me.
Does he?
Oh, yeah. 100%. I like him very much in movies like Ocean's 11, where he's just playing George Clooney and being kind of cool. But yeah, I don't think he does much else.
Was he being George Clooney in the parody on the South? What was that name of that movie again? Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou? Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou, right?
He's being pretty George Clooney-y in there. That's probably his best role.
I mean, he's not full-on George Clooney in that role. He does become somebody else.
I mean, in Batman and Robin, the acclaimed film from Joel Schumacher, he plays two characters. He plays Batman and Bruce Wayne, and that's pretty impressive, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I haven't watched Hail Caesar. I was tempted to watch Hail Caesar.
So I heard someone say it was actually pretty good.
I'd have to filter it, I think.
I think probably.
I don't know that I'd want to watch it unfiltered, even personally. So if I can, when I can get that thing filtered, I think I will watch that because it looks entertaining to me. I like George Clooney as an actor. Just his personal politics is horrible.
Oh yeah.
P. Smith, good morning to you. What about Reagan? Reagan was always just Reagan. And in those days, was there an actor in those days that became somebody else?
Oh yeah,
truly.
Watch Charles Lawton play the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah,
Just as a blatant example, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. All right, fair enough. Fair enough.
Again, film was a different style back then, but yeah.
There and Tom Hanks. I like Tom Hanks. He's one of these actors that goes beyond himself. Clearly, Forrest Gump being a great example of that. Has he been anybody other than himself since, is the next question.
I don't really like Tom Hanks very much as an actor.
No? Why not?
He just kind of annoys me.
How so?
His voice, his expressions, he just comes off as weird. I don't know.
I loved him in
There's
Castaway.
something off about him.
I loved him in Castaway.
That was a movie that I used to enjoy a lot more. And I was like, oh yeah, Tom Hanks is great in this. And then since I've kind of just been like, he's kind of just, it all tends to come off as, oh, it's another Tom Hanks role where he puts on a voice or acts crazy or whatever. And it's like,
grows a beard. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Stellar beard too. Big, huge, thick beard.
Yeah. I've gotten kind of sick of Tom Hanks movies. Even what's that one?
Grey Wolf. I enjoyed it.
Oh, Saving Private Ryan. I enjoyed that movie once. I don't like Saving Private Ryan anymore.
I know
I'm a longest day supremacist.
Yeah, you are.
Okay, Band of Brothers though is great. I like Band of Brothers a lot.
Why? Because Tom Hanks isn't in it?
Yeah,
is that all?
He just produced it.
Good grief. Come on.
because
Band of Brothers is all the Band of Brothers is Saving Private Ryan, but in serial form.
It's got a better portrayal overall of the history, the actions.
Well, it's because it's based
too much
on,
shaky cam,
on actual true events. The other one was based on a anecdotal story that had no meat on the bone.
Yeah, if you're not gonna make it, trying to make it as accurate as possible, then you need to make it like a fun adventure story, and have it be a little more charming. And Saving Private Ryan just comes off as
so gritty. Ah, man, so gritty. And it really kicked off I guess he had Braveheart too. Braveheart was also a game changer for the violence. Like the violence was at an epic level in Braveheart. Saving Private Ryan, gritty violence. And now everything is like the Rambo. Remember the Rambo movie they made? Matthew Marston was in that one. They hadn't made a Rambo in forever, and then all of a sudden this Rambo comes out. The violence is over the stinking top. It's so gritty. It's so harsh. Man, Saving Private Ryan, I think, really helped to perpetuate that wave of violence in film that we've been seeing ever since. I guess I say I don't love it, but I would have to imagine Omaha Beach probably felt like that. Probably really did feel a lot along those lines.
Well, as the traditional Thomas says, Joe's an expert on movie actors. He first learned his acting techniques from William Shakespeare.
Thank you. I was there. I remember those conversations. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow with Dr. Stein. Fridays with Stein. That's on the agenda. Hopefully you are too. Until then, God love you.